peace and love, everybody. Sorry for the technical difficulty which caused us to be late today, but we will continue our message. Welcome to another episode of the Aisha Sister Podcast with Queen Sue and the Sister, where we present our topic of the importance of discipline within organizational structures and the power of self-discipline. Let me go ahead and open up at this time with a prayer, our opening prayer. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, praise be to Allah, the cherisher, sustainer of the world, most gracious, most merciful, master of the day of judgment. Thee do we worship, and thine aid we seek. Show us the straight way, the way of those who bestowed your grace, the way of those whose portion is not wrath, and those who go not astray. Amen. Amen. So, as I was saying, I do again apologize. We apologize again for the technical difficulty which caused us not to be able to get online, but again, this message is something I feel like that was just so important to get across the airwaves today. So when certain things like that happen, sometimes disruptions and things like that can happen, but guess what, you keep pushing. Wait for the other sisters to get online as we switch between studios. And our topic for today, we will be discussing the importance of discipline within organizational structure and how important it is that we have power in self-discipline, learning to discipline ourselves. And I wanted to start that off with, first and foremost, the definition of discipline. The definition of discipline means an activity that one engages in regularly to train or improve oneself, to control gained by enforcing obedience or order, or also behaviors in accordance with rules or orderly conduct. The practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior with punishment or other undesirable consequences for those failing to comply. So that's the definition of discipline. And self-discipline meaning an ability to control one's feelings and overcoming one's weaknesses, the ability to pursue what one thinks is right despite temptations to abandon it. And there's going to be some very powerful questions that we're going to ask ourselves within this podcast today. Starting out with discipline within organizational structure. In my opinion, is very important because the simple fact here is without a structure or a blueprint to things, or having laws, or having things to be able to follow, then you could find yourself in failing, within the organizational structure. So it's important to maintain order within an organizational structure. Pardon me one moment. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. So, and with self-discipline, was speaking on that. Let me go ahead and start with that. It's important to discipline yourself because, like, that's like eating habits. That could be far as the fact of how dealing with self before and then dealing with self now. Once you learn something, we're supposed to apply it and get it to a point where adapting to that change. So a lot of things that come in our life and causes us to have to discipline ourselves is only an act to be able to better yourself. So it's very important. Some of the questions that were asked when I was talking to some of our viewers: is discipline punishment or is it accountability? Pardon me one moment. Peace and love, Queen.
Peace and love, sister. How you doing?
I'm well. I'm well. I apologize for the technical difficulty earlier, but we are live. And I want to go ahead while you're here to give your blessings, and then we can continue on with our conversation.
Is Mama Teresa on there?
No, not yet.
Okay, cause she was trying to get on.
Okay, I'll send her the
Now,
link
what you was
while
saying,
you give
Sister?
your blessings there. Give your opening
You
blessings,
prayed
please.
already? Oh,
Yes, ma'am. I'll be
Heavenly
off out
Father, I
to
come. Oh, okay then. All right. Well, I just want to thank everybody for coming in to join us on this day. Sorry for our delay. We're gonna have a great time. Uh, and I tell God with love inside of my heart to bless each and every one of you all on this day today. Keep us from seen and unseen dangers. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right. We've heard from the queen of where were we were is discipline. Okay, so I can kind of go back, rewind a little bit. We were defining what discipline actually meant, and that's an activity that one engages in regularly to train or improve oneself, or to gain control by enforcing obedience or order, behavior in accordance to rules, orderly conduct, or the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior with punishment or other undesirable consequences for those failing to comply. And the meaning of self discipline is the ability to control one's feelings or overcome one's weaknesses. And also the ability to pursue what one thinks is right, temptations to abandon it.
Mhm.
Yeah, do you want to add anything to like your understanding of self discipline and just the discipline of in an organizational structure?
No, but if it's not um out of order, anything like that, I did come in uh kind of late, so I wish you would really like go back over the beginning when you started, so I could marinate in my spirit a little bit much better. If the audience wouldn't mind that, and you all.
Yes, ma'am. So the definitions that I just described was what we actually just had stopped and then you came in. So you came in at a perfect time. And that was just me defining each, and that would be the discipline, like within the organizational structure, and also what self-discipline meaning. Would you like for me to give those again?
Uh, the topic, what's the heading? What's the heading? So my mind could.
Okay, yes, ma'am. No, no problem. So our topic today again is going to be the importance of discipline within organizational structures and the
Okay.
power of self-discipline. Yes.
Okay.
And then our quote for the week would have been before you can hold someone else accountable, we have to be willing to hold us accountable.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I feel the Holy Ghost coming on me now.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yes. So
Okay.
when you were coming in, I was asking the question of is discipline punishable or is it in accountability?
I think it's uh I think it's a combination of both. You know,
Okay.
um, and the reason why I think that is because I feel that people need to be accountable for their actions, and there need to be a structure of discipline added, so they won't keep on making the same unaccountability act manipulation
Right.
to me.
Mhm.
You know,
Yes, ma'am.
so that's why I say it's a combination of
And that's
just
very
both.
true.
Mhm.
Hmm. And just like what you were just saying, accountability is key, period, point blank, to a lot of things that we, whether it be self accountability or within an organizational structure, everyday living, and things like that. We don't really have a lot of accountability. Just wanting to hold themselves accountable for the actions that they choose. A lot more is kind of a free will versus the fact of today, and not really necessarily caring about your fellow man or the next person. You know what I mean? So it's very important to have the accountability, especially when you're dealing in self discipline.
And a mass of people also, you know, you
Yeah,
can't lay a
exactly.
measurement down and you're not standing on your Mr. King of being what you're supposed to be in the eyes of the people. Because people are so very judgmental. You know what I'm saying? And they look
Mm-hmm.
for any little thing that's not lined up perfectly. You feel what I'm saying? We as
Right.
people,
Right.
we always look for fault in somebody else the so the hand won't be pointed to us. You feel what I'm saying? We want to be the people that,
Right.
we want to blame somebody for dysfunctionality instead of taking accountability on self-preservation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
So
feel
I
that
think,
every successful
mhm.
organization needs boundaries,
Oh
in
yeah.
order to be successful. Yeah, we need
Mhm.
to have that because then that's kind of like your blueprint on how to be able to move. Because when you just, like sometimes you'll go to different things and there's no order to it. It's just kind of like, just kind of all over the place. You can really just kind of tell versus the fact of when things are actually set in motion. When things are set in motion, you have more of a smooth vibe to how everything is actually delivered.
Mhm. That's
Yeah.
right. That is right. Now I think that
And
mhm.
go ahead, Queen.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry.
No, really. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. And another thing is that I feel that self-discipline comes before organizational discipline because before, of course, having organizational discipline, you would have to first self-discipline. So then that would kind of hinder your heart enough to be able to run or lead someone else. You would have to first, you know, look into yourself and see what
Mhm.
areas of your life needs to change to be able to get people to listen to what it is that you have the messages you're bringing.
That is so true. That is so true. Yeah, that's true. And I really like the topic that we for the simple fact that it brings an enlightenment on elevation. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
We do better when we know better. Feel me?
Yeah.
So I just think that that's a wonderful thing. Uh, and I think that it should be added to our daily schedule because every day,
Hmm.
you know, we got to die off of singing and grow in grace. You know what I'm saying? And knowledge,
Absolutely.
and knowledge that you have brings you multiple power. You feel me? And so it
Hmm.
should start with, like you said, cleaning up yourself. You know?
When you can't, how do you expect the organization to be disciplined if the individuals within it aren't practicing discipline themselves? You know what I mean? So I totally
Mhm.
get it. Totally. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, and
And you
also
got a lot
just
of that going on.
one thing I've learned. I'm sorry.
No, you got a lot of that going on
Pardon
though.
me.
You have a lot of that
Yeah.
going on in a lot of organizations. Uh, ones that up in front, don't want to take accountability, and they got to understand when you are at the forefront of somebody, you could deliver good or you could deliver bad. But whatever you deliver, if it's bad, that's poison. Like I was
Right.
telling my son on yesterday, we had something going on, and I told him one bad apple spoils the bunch. If you put a rotten apple in a bowl,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, and don't remove it, it's gonna poison the rest of the apples in the bowl. Feel me? So you gotta stop it in its tracks.
So
And
true.
you gotta make sure that you're
So
not the
true.
one that's the rotten apple, you know? Because most likely people that
Right.
follow you, they do as they see you do. Just like a child follows their parent as they grow up. They learn everything and mimic their parent. That's they learning capability, mechanism or whatever.
Hmm. And see, when it comes to rules and structures, anyway, you got to understand that that actually puts us in place. So discipline protects the mission, whatever your organization is, it protects the mission of that when you have discipline.
Mhm.
So I totally get it. Just like you said, that example
Mhm.
for us, the fact if you put a bad apple with good apples or whatnot, over time, you know, it's going to start making the other apples rotten. So, so true,
Yeah,
Queen.
yeah, they really did. I think that this is
Yes,
a
ma'am.
very important topic, that should be exercised at all times. You know what I'm saying? Because people just seem to forget, you know, what era they be in. And the era that we in right now in this walk of life, there's so many people that are self-absorbed about themselves, um,
Absolutely. Mhm.
so willing to want to discipline other people and don't want to take the discipline from themselves. Sometimes I got to slap myself on the back.
Absolutely.
You feel me? When I catch
Mhm.
myself supposed to be in the boat, but I be riding outside the boat, I got to pull myself up. You hear
Mhm.
what I'm saying? So
That's a part
I'm
of
saying that to say
discipline.
that acknowledgement of self and self discipline take you a very long way up the ladder.
Yes. Some good questions to ask that I got feedback wise as
Right.
well is what happens when personal feelings become more important than the mission?
Being the
Or
mission
what
being
happens when
destroyed.
the members start creating their own rules?
When the members want to do what?
I said,
I had to hear that.
what happens when the members start creating their own rules?
Being it's not no
So
organized
some feedback
organization.
I got.
If they got their rules and they rules applying to what they want to do, they not following no structure. Without no structure, it's not no game of success.
So
You gotta
true.
have structure. You gotta
In
have
my
structure.
opinion, far as when we were asking what happens when members start creating their own rules, then you have confusion. You know what I mean?
You
That would
got
be
what?
my answer to that. You would get confusion when members start creating their own rules, when the confusion starts. You know what I mean? When you have a certain set of things of how things are supposed to go, and then you have people who are starting to kind of flip it to their own thing, because we have to understand as well that not everybody has the same understanding you have. You know what I mean? We can read the same book and someone else may get a different drawing out of it. That's why it's important as well to ask questions.
Yeah,
Another
yeah.
question was, how can one behavior damage the reputation of an entire organization?
Woo.
Can I answer that first?
Oh,
Because of actually
yeah, you can.
seeing and knowing this? Well,
Mm-hmm.
when one person, a way that one person can damage the reputation of an entire is because when you do, especially when dealing on an organizational structure, what you do with everyone when you're at your job and you work for a really good company and let's say what you did on the weekend spills into your work, they'll let you go. They're going to let you go because the simple fact is that they're going to protect the integrity of their organization. So, when one person, just like let's say we have meetings and things like that, right? And let's say um, people are showing up late, or some people are just not being attentive and things like that. Other people are always watching, especially in leadership. You have
Mm-hmm.
to understand in leadership, people are always watching you and they're watching the reflection of what it is that you do. And once they see that you do it, you know what I mean? They may not tell you, but they're going to start mimicking those same behaviors. So when the when the chain of command or the and this is just within an organizational any organizational structure, the chain of command when it comes to the CEO, the vice presidents, the president, things that if they see them wilding out doing or rules and things like that, it makes people more comfortable that's under them. You know what I mean? It makes you feel like that it's cool, and then after a while, you see organization tends to fall off because of some fact there's no order set there.
You're absolutely right about that. So that's why you gotta always have it when you standing on your Mr. King on any organization that you got going on with the rules and regulations. It always
Mhm.
gotta be the executioner. You know that word when I'm talking about? You know.
I always laugh when you say that, but it's not funny. It's for real. No, for real. But this topic touched my heart. This is one thing that which kind of makes me a bad guy most times. You know what I mean? And it could just be even just personally, far as for myself, we are our own worst critic. You know what I mean? I want to be a better me today than I was yesterday, and I want to take the lessons of the things that I learned yesterday and apply them today. So that way I don't have to continue to visit the same things. If you want to move forward in life, you have to understand that you have to visit your past more than
Oh
once
yeah.
every throughout your life. Throughout your life, you are going to visit your past more than once, and you have to understand that the different tests are going to come in different forms to see how you learn, see how you have grown. So don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to stand on what's right or follow the rules and things like that. You know what I mean? That's what they set there for. So that way it can keep you on the right path. Because if not, then you're gonna stray away. And any room for the lack of discipline is gonna cause you to stray. If you don't want to stray, stay within lines and order. Everyone has that. And that's all the way up to the top and down all the way to the bottom.
I'm saying when you're right, you're right. When you're right, you're right.
And
You
we
know.
also need to understand how important it is to address behaviors, because a lot of times, things go on within organizations or within self. And this, when I'm speaking, I'm not just speaking about your interactions with people, right? I'm talking about interactions with yourself. The realest person that you're gonna ever meet is gonna be yourself. You deal with yourself. So those personal meetings with yourself is very important to be able to go back to status quo. In order for me to be able to know what I need to do, I need to address Kyla. And most people don't understand me or know me as Kyla, but that birth certificate say Kyla. So with that being said, I got to address Kyla. Fatima got to address Kyla most times. You know what I mean? On where what we learned and where we gonna go from what we just learned. You know what I mean? Some things you have to put in your back pocket. We have to understand that some things have to be put in our back pocket. It may not apply at that time, but at some point in life, it will. And you got to know when to pull it out your back pocket and apply it. But once you have gained knowledge of anything, you have to understand that then you can't call yourself no fool. You will be playing the fool if you play with the knowledge or the understanding that you already know better than. And that's where that self-discipline comes in. But when I speak on the power of self-discipline, I speak on the fact of how important it is to be able to keep yourself in check. Keep yourself in check is every action doesn't need a reaction. Understanding that tomorrow depends solely. You know what I mean? Yes, God gives us life. Yes, God gives us the breath in our bodies, correct? But He gives us a choice, gives us a decision on how we address things. But just know that however you go about it, whether good or bad, there is consequences to how that goes, whether that be good or bad. So think about life about when it comes to self-discipline, the decisions that we make always comes with a cost, whether it be good or bad.
You're right about that. Because everything that you do don't result inside of uh, a clap back. I'm gonna clap loud. You clap at me, I'm gonna clap louder than you. I'm gonna show you. Sometimes you got to show yourself.
Most times.
Most of the
Most
time, you got
times.
to show
Because some
yourself.
things, a lot of times, Yeah, because most of the time stuff don't even be what it seems, and that's where the self discipline kicks in with me. You know what I mean? I haven't mastered that, and I'm woman enough to be able to say that. You know what I mean? I've came a long way. A lot of situations I do pat myself on the back from seeing where I always had to get the last word or be able to, you know what, I'm gonna show you, or I'm no, I got to prove. You don't have to prove yourself to no one. You know what I mean? Especially if you're dealing in a situation where you're not going to get your point across or someone's not going to understand. You can't get everybody to understand as much as you want to get everybody to understand you. Everybody is not meant to understand you. You know what I mean?
Right. Everything for everybody.
Hmm. That's right. And you have to,
Everything
and
for everybody.
it ain't even just about them in that situation. It's more of the fact that you have to be willing enough to understand that everything, 'cause that's a whole nother entity of it. Is do you have the understanding that everything doesn't have to be explained, because that's a hard concept, and that's speaking from experience, y'all. I can say that because that's something that I know. Always wanting to prove yourself, always wanting to explain yourself. But have you ever explained yourself to someone and they still didn't get it, and then you feel like ask yourself, he's like, why did I even do that? I know what I meant. Know what you mean and mean what you say. You know what I mean? If you don't, and sometimes our delivery, ask God to work with us on how we deliver things so that way there is an understanding. But you can't really expect understanding like maybe how it was before. I don't know if that, because the times have changed. You know what I mean? I'm aware that times has changed. Like now, trying to explain yourself is just it's like a complete circle. You just be going in loop de loop versus the fact that just let well enough. Sometimes you gotta let well enough and let your action. Sometimes my action have just went ahead and explained what my mouth couldn't. You know what I mean? Sometimes my actions have truly explained what my mouth couldn't, because my mouth didn't have the right words to be able to get this person to understand. But okay, if we just do, some people learn differently. So, you know what I mean? Some people learn from words, some people learn from physical actions, some people learn from watching other people do it. You know what I mean? Because they don't want to watch you do it, but they see somebody else do it and they get to understand it. It might just be better demonstrated there. You never know.
Some people have
Yeah.
the nature of competitive, want to be competitive toward other people.
Right.
I can do,
Naturally.
I can do what you do, but I can do it better. That's how they were brought up in the competitive world,
I can
you
do
know?
anything better than you.
Right. Yeah.
Woo. And with that, never mind. But I don't think I'm gonna have the right delivery of words on how to be able to express that. You know what I mean? Everyone has things. Let's get back to the topic. On an organizational structure, everyone has their roles. Everybody plays a very imperative part. You know what I mean? Even if we are in the same position, it's important to understand that everybody has something new and bright to bring to the organization. When two heads will always be better than one. When you have two heads looking at a situation or a problem, and you know what I mean, that's two different solutions that I got to the one that could have been made. You know what I mean? Or be able to stop and stop that person or that thing from maybe the negligence of an issue arising and stuff, because you had that extra head there now, because if you do this and that gonna go on, but you didn't think of that. So that other person was there to be able to aid and assist with that.
Mhm.
I hope that made sense, because I kind of use my own wordings with that.
Okay. Okay. But everybody's at
I'm
this
over
stage,
here.
you never get too old for to learn new tactics and new ways of doing things, and you never too old to learn how to humble yourself, to have an ear to hear, to have an ear to grow, you know.
What
That's what it's
about
all
another
about.
question we had was, yes, ma'am.
All right,
Another question we had is, how can correction happen without humility, disrespect, gossip, or bullying?
how can what?
How can correction happen? How can correction happen? How can you correct someone without them feeling like it's humiliating, disrespectful, gossiping, or bullying?
Well, for one thing, you got to get the respect of another person, because the thing that burns us all out in this world today is the respect that each other have for one another. You know what I'm saying? And then the main thing is that the trust issue will cover
Yeah.
all barriers.
Mm.
You feel what I'm saying? If a person ain't got trust in you, it's hard for the person to respect you. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
Um, so you gotta sometimes, when people have trust in you, that's a great thing. But if a person has trust in you and then they lose trust in you, that's a hard thing to gain back. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
in building relationship, I feel that a person should work warmly on being able to lay different things down for a pattern of showing that I can be trusted. You know what I'm saying? Uh,
Right. Okay.
it falls back into the odd thing about you, my sister, and there's nothing that you could do about it. But you, my sister, I'm not gonna take advantage of you or use you or mistreat
Absolutely.
you. You feel what I'm saying? I'm gonna love you. I'm gonna
Yeah.
show you the things that you don't know. We might bump head. We're gonna always agree to disagree. You feel what I'm saying? But it shouldn't be no falling out, and it shouldn't be no uh throwing knives at each other back. You know what I'm saying? It should be when people are mature and grown, they gotta come to a realization where, you know what, you hurt me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or this ain't working. We need to work together because we're trying to build something together. But we need to get an understanding with one another. You feel what I'm saying? And once you get an understanding,
Having the
understanding
adult
brings
conversation.
yeah, understanding brings respect. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times you can be looking at a person like
Right.
with a funny eye, and it might not be what your eye is seeing. You hear what I'm saying? Because the devil is forever in in the supremacy of keeping up naught. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta go in it, and sometimes you gotta, even if you say, "Oh, I know better," sometimes you just gotta. Sometimes you
Mhm.
just gotta really depend and trust on God and not to trust on the skin that you in. You know what I'm saying? That
Okay.
when you're building things with a bunch of people, especially when you're dealing with a bunch of women. You know what I'm saying? Hmm. Dealing with a
So, in
bunch
your
of
opinion, it would correction can happen. That would be more on first and foremost gaining respect of the people.
of each other. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm.
Okay.
You know, and see, you can't keep on looking at people
I
with
think it's all about.
what?
Your phone went. Can you hear me? Oh, okay. While you're taking that call, um, to my understanding, what I would say, far as for that, it's all about a reproach. I mean, approach. You know what I mean? It's all about how you approach people. Because humility, disrespect, gossip, and bullying could be that way if you approach someone incorrectly. You know what I mean? The way you approach somebody could very much seem that it may not necessarily be that, but like, let's say you want to talk to someone about something, pull them to a side versus the fact of all out in the open or in a circle and things like that. That will help
What?
make that kind of go down. Again, yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I'm trying to
Your
fix
phone?
another thing. I hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. So it's like
You gave me the
that
wrong address.
approach
You
when
said
you have
46.
ones that are talking to you around a group of people and stuff, like it can feel like, you know what I mean, that you're cornered or humiliating and things like that. So a lot of time it's just, it's about your approach, in my opinion. Because that's usually how that could be. Things could be misconstrued. Because when you
Hmm.
are in a group of people versus the fact that one on one, there's a different type of energy that's brought.
Yeah. But that's, like I
Yeah.
said, it got to come to a uh, respectable for each other. You know what I'm
Tone.
saying? People got to have
Hmm.
respect. you know,
Right.
and it ain't just in front of people, you know what I'm saying? Um, it just ain't in front of people. You know, it's a daily walk. That's all that I can tell you about that right there.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a daily walk, but I
Why do you
love to
feel like
study.
everyone can't make decisions?
What you say?
I said, why do you feel like that everyone can't make the decision? Why is it important in an organization, any organization, that everyone doesn't isn't able to make the decisions?
Uh,
Okay, so I'll answer that. The reason why, in my opinion, that everyone is not able to make the decisions is because the simple fact is that if everybody making the decisions, you're gonna have some confusion. Okay, that's the easiest way. And sometimes with follow, not sometimes, most times, if you have a chain of command, that is what that is set there for. You trust these people enough to be able to make the right decisions, not ever forgetting about down the line these people are just as important, because the simple fact is that they're going to help you be able to see everything in between. Here and there, you always got an in between. So when you are talking about, like, far as the fact of why it's important for the tops or people who are like CEOs and things like that to make the decisions, then yeah, because that's what they put there for, you know. Let me take this comment. We have a comment here from Terry. Hey, sister. Respect goes a long way, even if you don't know them. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Respect is definitely should be a given thing, because first and foremost, you have to give respect to get it. If you're ever expecting someone to respect you, you have to first be understanding enough to make sure that you are giving that same respect. You know, because how exhausting is that to be talking to someone that you're respecting and they're not respecting you? 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna go on ahead and go over here because I demand my respect because I know that I give it, and since I give it, you know what I mean, I'm expecting to get it. If I don't get it, I'm gonna go ahead and go on by my way, and that's a part of self-discipline that I know is going back to self-discipline, is knowing self acknowledgement. When you know yourself, it will save you in a lot of situations. You know what I mean? That sometimes you can't get up, you feel like you can't get up out of. Know yourself. Know when it's time for you to put the finger up, the usher finger up, and walk on out. Okay? Well, please feel free to leave anything that is not, that is going to set you to a part of yourself that you've already overcame. Pardon me. Sister Terry also said, there's always a chain of command and always remember who was there. Absolutely. Okay, Sister Terry talking in on with us today. I know we had some technical difficulties earlier, but I'm trying to fill in as much of this topic as I can. I do plan on doing a part two. We plan on doing a part two of this topic because it is a very, very strong and powerful message, um, um, conversation. And with us missing 15 minutes of it or whatever, I feel like that we lack so much of what we wanted to talk about today. So I'm just trying to kind of introduce us to it this week, and then next week we'll go into a part two with the other sisters too, because we did have some technical difficulties. I'm gonna have to get to the studio and get to work, but nevertheless, we here and we're talking. And again, feel free to chime in and leave your comments and your questions, anything that you want us to discuss or research about this topic, and I will cover them. We will cover them through this segment of the importance of discipline within organizational structure and the power of self-discipline, because self-discipline within itself is its own entity of a topic. You know what I mean? Because everything, as we were saying in the beginning, everything starts with self. And in order to be able to have an organizational structure, you have self-discipline. Terry also says, how can you start self-discipline and set those boundaries? How can you start self-discipline and set those boundaries? Well, in my opinion, self-discipline comes from self-acknowledgement. You have to first and foremost be able to acknowledge self. And self meaning what your triggers are, put yourself to the test. You know what I mean? When things get heated, see how you react. Recall after that cool down and stuff, and you take that time to reflect. See how you acted in there and what you wanted to change about it. That was my way of being able to actually see and know self enough to know that certain things I have to take myself out of, because I don't want to fly off the handle anymore. I don't want anybody to take me away from what I know is peace. When you find peace and you know peace, you know where you need to be at with it. And it takes time. I'm not saying that this is just something you could just up and do. And I can't say like that's something that I just up and do even now. Sometimes I've had some people that definitely flew me up off the handle or whatnot. But as soon as I can catch myself, you know what I mean? That's what I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? So in my opinion, that is where self-discipline starts, is knowing self. Write down your triggers. You know what I mean? Even if you have an issue with having so many things on your mind and stuff, start a journal. Write down the things that trigger you. Write down the things that you like about yourself and things like that. Start putting yourself to the test, so that way you could be able to see how to be able to start acing up some of those tests that come your way. Which is also, let me promote a little bit, what I talk about on Pillow Talk. Okay, Pillow Talk talks about that a lot. I know this is the Aisha Sister podcast or whatever, but I want to say that is something else. If you want to be able to channel in on self-discipline and self-care, self-acknowledgement, please understand that Pillow Talk about that. So if you want to be able to get into with that too, that is another Aisha Sister production that we do offer. You know what I mean? And we do have. So, you know what I mean? That's one thing we do on that show, is be able to help us channel in on self. Because everything is always going to revert back to self. Know that. Well, you got the hotline over there. Okay. Yeah, so let me, so some questions that I want to ask and make sure that we are leaving you guys with, because again, we will have a part 2 to this, so that way we can fully cover this topic, is well, first and foremost, disagreements within organizational structures. Are they healthy? Can I disagree respectfully? Can I follow a decision I personally didn't agree with? How do you distinguish between speaking truth and creating division? So a lot of these questions that I have asked today, again, I just want to put those in mind, so that way we have plenty of questions when we come back to this, because like I said, we did have some technical difficulties which kind of threw us off track today. So today we just kind of trying to introduce the topic, and while still, you know what I mean, making sure that we are on task with this. Let me see, we got one more comment here. Oh, Sister Terry again, she said, I absolutely love I absolutely love journaling. I need to start doing it again. My problem is not writing it. I want to be able to use it effectively, especially in those hard times. Well, that's the whole point. A lot of times journaling, it's good to get things out there on the like I get talked about because I write a lot. You know what I mean? It ain't the fact of being the feds or trying to write things down, but my mind with having so many things on it, it ain't just big for no reason. It's because I be having so much going on in here that I have to write it down to be able to get it out of the mind on paper, so that way I can go back and be able to reflect on what it is that I need to. So ain't nothing wrong with journaling. So that way you can always be able to go back as a refresher. And then, like I said, it also clears your mind of some things too. You have to understand that. So that is a good thing to actually do. It's something that I definitely encourage as far as the fact of journaling, because you get things off your mind and on paper, and then it's like second entity. You know what I mean? It ain't just in your mind, because you know our minds be jogging all day long. So with that being said, if I write it down, guess what? I got a second way to get back to what it was I was thinking. So that's good, sister. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You're
wonderful.
back. We was going over some questions just like I was letting them know that today we're just kind of more of introducing the topic and just kind of, introducing where we're at with it, and we'll follow up with part 2 next week, where we'll be able to dig deeper into these questions that are coming in for 'em. And please do, everyone, keep the comments and the questions coming, and anything that you want the Aisha sisters to cover and things like that, because we want to make sure that we're giving the things that people are asking for and wanting to be able to know.
Yeah, truly.
Okay.
And
So
just enlighten our people.
yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I was just going to say another comment came in. It was, I'm a person that struggles with abandonment. That stirs a lot of the triggers within my self-discipline and boundaries. Absolutely. That is something that, you know what I mean, is very triggering, and journaling is good at that, because once you start getting those triggers out there, what actually sets you to certain modes at certain times, that's self-acknowledgement. Then you could be able to better know how to grasp the situation when it comes, you know what I mean? So that's another thing, when you were talking about far as the fact of journaling, down that trigger you. That was something, I can definitely speak from self experience on that. I did this about a year ago, far as the fact of things that trigger me, so that way I can get my triggers out of the way. Not saying that they ain't gonna come in different forms, right? But if you write it down, that's you acknowledging what it is that you have areas that you want to fix or work on. You know what I mean? Which is a part of self-discipline. It's a part of self-discipline. Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna give you the floor for Bitcoin. I've already just been talking so much.
No, I'm enjoying it. Besides all the interruptions and stuff like that,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm enjoying all the questions that's being asked on this channel and everything. So yeah, we most definitely got to revisit this topic in depth. You feel me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree. Well, we do have a meeting set up after this podcast today. And again, like that is watching us and have been watching us, we appreciate you sticking with us and watching with us every week or whenever we are on. We will be back, like I said, for next week, part 2 of this, where Queen Sue and the sisters, we will be back to talk about the power and discipline within the organizational structure and the power of self-discipline. Pardon me, I had to get our title right. But with that being said, we are going to conclude this episode. But before we do that, I will get final words from Queen Sue, and then we will see you guys next week.
Yeah, I just want to tell
Queen Sue, I'm
everybody.
open.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you. Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
okay. I just want to tell everybody, this week, when you step outside the door, when you wake up, thank God, thank Allah for life, because somebody didn't make it on yesterday. And with this week starting, be kind and love on somebody, because there's a lot of pain out here and there's a lot of hurt. And we just gotta we gotta dilute it. We gotta get rid of it. So as I speak to you all, help a person along the way and pass the word around. Love and love.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Okay, well, with that being said, those are our final words. Peace and love, everybody. Thank you for watching with us this week. We look forward to next Sunday with you guys, where we will touch on part 2. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we will see you next week. Bye.
All right.